Dick masterpiece. Furnace paganism. Not approved. Biblical discernment. Eagle eye. Confusing moral world.
Spiritual force of darkness.
Potter ethics. Vablatsky. Patently unbiblical. No! So, my memory card got corrupted and I've had to wait about a week to order a new one and receive it. It is awkward getting back into the swing of a video, isn't it? Where were we? Got it. Now I just feel more magical. I believe where we left off, we just finished his analysis of the first Harry Potter book. So he opens each chapter with a little quote about sorcery and the like. He says, a generation of children is becoming desensitized to the occult because of Harry Potter and Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Oh, I just got a package in the mail. You're back. It's my Hogwarts acceptance letter. Dear Mr. Brent, you have been accepted to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Look at these bad boys. I don't know, what has this video turned into? So he opens with a quote from a teacher who doesn't think that children are being desensitized to the occult, who just says, it's mostly harmless, and she says, the Potter books do not teach witchcraft. Baines, he follows it up. He comes in hitting hard. He'll may be correct in saying that the Potter books do not technically teach witchcraft. Richard, you can just stop there. He is not fooled by much, okay? He sees right through Rowling's occult tendencies. In a video prepared by Scholastic, the Scottish author declares, it's important to remember that we all have magic inside us. Dick, nothing gets past you, man. You know that she was actually trying to conjure up spirits. That's what she was trying to do when she says that we all have magic inside of us. So he talks about the Hand of Glory that Malfoy finds in Borgin and Burke's, and according to occult tradition, the Hand of Glory was a right hand of a murderer that was severed while the corpse was still hanging from the gallows. That's according to occult tradition, not according to Harry Potter. According to Harry Potter, it's a tiny, not even a plot device that shows up for a page. He finds an argument on the other side, because obviously he's not going to present any of that in his non-biased approach. Basically, he says that, none of the magic in Harry Potter is really real. And Baines is absolutely savage in his retort, and he just says, although sincere in his attempt to support what he believes to be harmless fantasy, Coulson fails to comprehend the depth of occultism found in the books, and does not understand the relationship that exists between the novels and real-world occultism. There you go. If somebody disagrees with you, just call them simple-minded, and you will have won the argument. Debating 101. Unbiblical spiritual involvement takes place all through the Potter books. Harry, why don't you have any biblical values? Get more wives. Then Dick talks about familiars, such as owls and cats, and how they're very clearly in the Potter books, and how, obviously, Harry and his friends are indeed making contact with the spiritual world. Sending mail with birds who are very good at locating people does not equate to making contact with the spiritual world. During the Middle Ages in Europe, owls were thought to be the associate of witches and the inhabitant of dark, lonely, and profane places. A foolish but feared specter. That's during the Middle Ages, buddy. Most people couldn't read back then. People don't think like that anymore. And then he says, all of this might be less significant if Rowling's story took place in a world far removed from our own, but her fantasy takes place here and now. Only a few hours train ride, albeit a magic train. Good job giving us that. From major British cities. The separation between reality and fantasy may not be wide enough for some children to draw clear lines. Children are all idiots. Have you ever encountered a child in your life? They're not actually that stupid. Some of them can be. I worked at a summer camp. For the most part, children know that pretty much all of the books they read are not real. If they don't, who are they going to go to? Their parents. They're not going to phone the occult hotline. There still exists the very tangible possibility that many children will become so enthralled with magic and wizardry that they will seek out paganism/witchcraft that is available in the real world. They'll seek it out. There are a lot of straws, and our buddy Dick is grasping at all of them. The Pagan Federation has had to appoint a new youth officer to deal with a flood of inquiries following the success of the Harry Potter books. I'll give you that. That's pretty wild that the Potter books were this popular. I bet you that this guy's job was more often than not to just reply to these hopeful emails from kids who want magic to be real and say, well, you know, Harry Potter is a book of fiction. That's not really what we do. You can have this brochure. When Mr. Weasley finds out his sons flew the car, his first response is,
Did you really? How'd it go?
and Avanes is saying that that's a horrific example of moral ambiguity. Richard, have you ever laughed once in your life? Avanes is like, Rowling even has Mr. Weasley starting a brawl with Lucius Malfoy in a bookstore. He's taking the side of the Malfoys now. Avanes kind of ends the Potter ethics section with a little tongue-in-cheek comment. He's like, now, thanks to the Harry Potter series and the lessons it teaches, parents may face a much more difficult task as they seek to lead their children through the often complex world of right and wrong. The world of right and wrong is often complex, Dick. Your kids have to grow up at some point. Snape is probably the perfect example of the complex world of right and wrong, you know? As you mature, as Harry does, you kind of start thinking that maybe he's actually just a good guy. And then all of a sudden,
Avada Kedavra.
and you're like, gosh, maybe not. Let's move on to the ages 6 and up portion of the novel. I don't see how this part is really relevant. Avanes brings up some bad reviews of Rowling's books. This one guy has described the Potter books as a critically insignificant series. Again, I don't see how that is relevant to a book where you're supposed to just be telling us whether or not Harry Potter is biblically ethical. It's literally just to insult Rowling. Millions of other reviews say otherwise.
Of course, even if the Harry Potter books are poor literature, that does not make them particularly damaging to children.
So why would you use that in your argument, saying that these books are damaging to children?
Potter's magical powers are akin to the divine gift bestowed by the Holy Spirit at Pentecost. What does Avanes say to this? Comparisons such as these are absurd. He says, from a biblical perspective, both sides are technically evil. Are you kidding me? I don't see how they are on the same level here. He talks about Trelawney a lot in this chapter because it's on the Prisoner of Azkaban, and she's a seer, a psychic. Talks a lot about each type of sorcery, including palmistry, math, and language. The names of 2 characters, and a password, are directly taken from astrological geomancy. You could not pick a tinier detail to throw out of proportion. Kids are not going to see the password Fortuna Major and think,
that comes from astrological geomancy.
and he cites a very good website, folk-tales.com. That sounds like the thing that Bella looks at in the first Twilight movie where she's finding out that it was a vampire. Folktales.com! Eagle Eye Fessenden is back at it with this amazing incorrect usage of the word "it's" right here. You remember the subtitle here, The Menace Behind the Magic? Although Rowling may spell the word magic without a K throughout her books, the occult activities she describes are certainly more than stage illusions. They are clearly references to magic practices that are part of the contemporary religion of witchcraft. Going more into the ethics of the books, Dick does not condone the use of git. According to a dictionary of slang, git is a derogatory term for an idiot or contemptible person. Rowling's message is simple. If someone is good, and he has good intentions, or if he is particularly clever or exceptionally bright, or somehow more special than others, then he can break rules, lie, and steal. And that is not at all the message. I'm losing the ability to come up with unique things to say about these arguments because they're the same things over and over again. Children love to be grossed out, as they say.
How do you do, fellow kids?
It just seems to be part of being young, and Rowling's series is filled with end-on-end images that cater to this juvenile sense of humor.
What are you expecting?
From kids. Are you expecting them to read some Oscar Wilde and be like, oh, this is very funny for my refined, humorous palate? They're gonna laugh at troll boogers and jelly bean candies with tastes ranging from vomit to earwax. Again, you have this vendetta against Bertie Bott's every flavor beans. Book 3 merrily trundles down the same path as Chamber of Secrets and Philosopher's Stone. In a kind of nightmarish twist on Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, Rowling has a wizard candy shop that has an unusual taste section. Referencing Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is pretty bold right there, man, because that is nightmare fuel for kids. He decries Ron's jokes here. Can I have a look at Uranus too, Lavender? That's freaking hilarious, man. I wish Baines had a little bit of a sense of humor. That's comedy gold right there, dude. Moving on to the 4th book. He titles his chapter on it,
Goblet of Death.
Book 4 finds Harry and his friends approaching adolescence, which allows for hints
Some sexuality.
because that never happens in the Bible. You know, hints of sexuality are about as far as Harry Potter goes, let's be real. Goblet of Fire, unlike Rowling's first 3 novels, drifts deep into the realm of adult fiction. What kind of adult fiction books have you been reading? Here it is again. The natural tendency in children is sometimes so strong that they can forget what they are reading is unreal. What? 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 Yeah, the beauty of a good book is that you get lost in the world, but you always come out of it, okay? This isn't Jumanji. I don't think that happens to any kids. As Harry Potter fans mature, will they feel an increasing desire to dabble in occultism?
No.
The following is but a small example of many statements that Rowling has either not seen or chosen to ignore. Statements made by children who, because of the Harry Potter series, wish they could learn magic. I wish Hogwarts was real because then I could go learn magic instead of quadratic equations. Clearly, Mariad, who's 13, is advanced enough to know that Hogwarts is not real. She just hates math class. At the risk of overstressing this point, more cheating occurs in Book 4 on pages 465, 485, 494, 495. You've already overstressed it. As in the other books, there are the ubiquitous gits scattered throughout the text. Ubiquitous Gits is the name of my death metal band. Not once in all 4 books does Harry display any concern for characters other than those that show concern for him. The audacity. Voldemort's method of operation may be drastically unlike Harry's, but the 2 characters share the same motivation, self-interest. Voldemort wants what he wants, as does Harry.
No.
Harry wants to stop Voldemort from getting what he wants, because that would overall be a bad thing for the entire world. Goblet of Fire is already being compared to Stephen King horror novels by some reviewers. I don't know who these reviewers are, but he only has one source here, so if you actually think that Stephen King is in any way comparable to Goblet of Fire, have you ever read either of those things? Here's a critique of Book 4 that says, my 5-year-old assistant critic had a troubled Saturday night after hearing the first 100 pages. You're reading Harry Potter to a 5-year-old? That's on you. That's not on Rowling. A word must be said at this point about the hints of sexuality that Rowling's 4th book incorporates into the series. She has stated that her young characters will be
Discovering their hormones
as they grow up, just like real adolescents all over the world, man. A final dip into the well of sexuality occurs on the night of the Yule Ball, when numerous teen couples are caught necking in the shrubbery. How far might Rowling take this particular subject in future volumes? About that far. That's about as far as it goes.